All right, so today I'm going to share a bit of prehab rehab for the shoulders. I've installed these anchor points on my wall, but you can use a door handle, you can use a bed frame, whatever you got that'll take a bit of body weight. This is a power band. There's obviously different bands on the market, so use whatever you have. Goes without saying, you can make it less tension by giving yourself more slack. You can make it more challenging by tightening up on the slack. Yeah. So a couple of variety of movements, and this is geared towards countering the forward pressing that we do a lot in yoga and calisthenics and a lot of ways that we move. We all tend to be kind of curled forward anyway, so the front of the shoulder girdle gets stronger than the back of the shoulder girdle. I could be really specific, but I think changing your hand position does a lot. So even if you're just empty-handed, square up your shoulders, feel where you are, go palms up, and just spin your thumbs out to the side. Notice how I'm keeping my elbows in close. And just feel what's going on, not so much in the forearms, but what's going on the back of the shoulder girdle. And then go palms down. Notice how that slightly changes the feedback and the behavior. So whatever little stabilizing action that we play with the band, find variety and find different ways to create conversation and tone and wake up the back of the posterior chain by changing the hand gesture. That can be palms into each other, that can be palms out depending on the situation, but take a given situation and then play with spinning the forearms around. It's really going to change the behavior in the shoulders. So for example, this is a classic, so I'm just going to use a little bit of my band because I find doubling up to be too much. I'm also working kneeling today, and even not taking the camera angle into account, I feel like kneeling just gives you a little more core stability. When you're standing, you have a lot more to think about. If I'm on my knees, I'm really just thinking about thighs and core, so I'm a little bit more anchored down. And as always, I'm thinking about my core and my spine so that I'm really just moving my shoulders instead of just noodling everything around. Okay, so elbows glued in, set the core. Make sure you're not holding your breath though. I'm going to start with palms up, and I'm just going to pull against that band. These little, so prehab rehab is just subtle toning and activation. It's more about distributing your awareness so you're more conscious of what muscles are available, or at least bringing into awareness the muscles we might not use all the time. Yeah. While I'm here, it's really important that I don't turn this into a back bend. So as I start to awaken, and even after just a few reps, you'll start to feel at the back of the shoulders. So across here, rear delts, infraspinatus, subscap stabilizing up under the shoulder blade. I want to make sure I'm not doing this, yeah? So this is what I'm thinking about. Legs, grounding the core. Pretend you got a little teacup on your head. And then I'm going to change the conversation. I'm going to go palms down. And it's really interesting. I personally find palms down here with this one much worse. You may be different. But I can barely pull the belt palms down. So I feel so much stronger palms up, because we're activating a slightly different track through the shoulders. Good, and I'm just going to stop and shake it out because it's actually really strong. A lighter belt or a lighter band would allow you to do more reps, but I'm just going to work with what I have. Good. Another variation that I really like. So again, I'm going to set my core, and instead of my elbows being tight to my side, I'm going to pop my elbows out, and I'm going to try to be fairly strict that they're on the same plane. So they're not down here. They're obviously not up here. I'm not clamping my neck. Got a little teacup on my head. I'm going to square the elbows out. I'm going to start here palms down. And again, I'm just going to try to pull the belt apart, the band apart. Heating again, it's this pulling apart action that activates the back of the shoulders, back of the rotator cuff. And it doesn't take many to start to feel the activation. So this video is food for thought. I'm not going to prescribe how many reps you're going to do with each exercise. You'll probably find for yourself which ones feel really beneficial. Good. I'm going to release it down for a second and just play interesting change. It'll be really hard to work. My palms are going to face each other. I'm not going to get palms up here. That's a lot. So I'm going to try to externally rotate the forearm as much as I can. Now palms face each other. I'm going to feel the change in conversation as compared to palms down. Yeah. So again, just food for thought. Taking one of these isometrical actions and changing the palm position is really going to change the conversation. Here's another one that I really like. I'm going to take the belt behind me. And I'm going to start with palms back. So notice that my palms are facing behind me instead of around this way. I'll do it both ways, but I'm going to start palms back. You can stay standing, or I'm going to come down to the floor just because I'm in keeping with how I set up. Press through the shins, stabilize through the core, lift through the back of the throat. I'm going to reach my arms down and then out, and I'm going to try to pull the belt apart. And again, I'm selecting movements that awaken the back of the shoulder girdle, posterior deltoid, medial deltoid, triceps, muscles in the back of the rotator cuff. A little goes a long way, so I'm already feeling a lot of burn here. And I'm going to relax, let out for a second, and then vary the hand position. I'm going to flip around palms forward now, way more external rotation. Take a couple breaths, set the shins, draw up through the core, lift through the throat, and then pull the belt apart this way. Just giving the body food for thought. You could think of other hand positions as well, so I'm going to turn my palms to face each other, so not all the way back, but they're spinning forward, just palms facing each other, and then pull back, right down through the stripe of medial deltoid. Good. And again, release it off, wiggle it out. There's infinite variety of movement here. So again, rather than prescribing a certain one, I want you to feel at liberty to explore, find different positions. You can pull overhead, you can pull with arms straight. I just demonstrated a few that really highlight posterior deltoid, triceps, all the stability here through the back of the rotator cuff, just to complement the forward emphasis that we have through a lot of floor work. Another way that we can use the belt with our anchor points, more specifically, this is really nice. You'll want a longer belt for this, or band for this. I'm going to hook my band, and if you have one of these red power bands like mine, I'm going to hook it around the back of my wrist, close my grip, and this is pretty, like, it doesn't take a lot of work to keep the grip. I'm not like death gripping here. This is pretty sustainable. I'm going to start to, again, think about my legs, think about my core, and wiggle out the shoulder, and start to rotate away. Again, playing with palms down, palms up. Really, I'm not interested in the palm so much, I'm interested in the rotation happening from here. There's a certain amount of rotation in the elbow. I want to make sure I'm thinking about swiveling from the humerus, while I keep my tall core, long neck. Good. So I'm going to externally rotate and then move my heart away, and this is what makes the belts different or the elastic band, excuse me, different from working with a belt. It's because I can kind of lean against it and I feel that whole elastic conversation. There's subtle variation in sensation to be gained here as I lean my heart away and draw back in. So there's a buoyant kind of massaging action. It's not so static. I could do a lot of this with like one of the cotton yoga belts, a classical yoga belt, but it wouldn't give you the same pliable feedback. And I'm going to slightly change my arm position. I'm just going to go palms down and feel it move through a slightly different stretch. Good. So I'll point out, you could dip your shoulder forward, but that's not really helping release the pectorals. When you play with this one, as I start to move my chest away from this anchor point, I'm going to really try to retract the shoulder as much as I can, so I'm dropping through the pectorals. And just feeling the change in sensation. So I'm going to play across this range of motion. And then I'm going to continue to internally rotate. Now my palm is all the way around the other way. And notice how my shoulder is wanting to dip forward, which really isn't, like, it's not what we're going for. Yeah, we could geek out about what's going on, but I'm going to keep internally rotating and yet retracting, which is more challenging. It'll be more comfortable to dip the shoulder forward, but I'm going to try not to let it as much as possible. Really bringing some stretch to anterior deltoid and bicep. I'm just bringing in and out of that range of motion as much as I want. Now as well, the more I internally rotate, the more I move my knees away. The more I bring my ribs away from that arm, the more this intensifies the conversation here. I can lean a little more. So go ahead and pause the video and play with the other side in your own time. I'm just hopefully giving you ideas of exploration. I'm not going to do both sides as far as demonstration, just pointing out this is really different than just putting your hand on the wall and rotating away. Because of the freedom to twist and rotate, I have a lot of different variations of internal rotation, external rotation. I can move closer in, I can lean down, I can walk the knees away, I can arch up, and all of these is going to change the way the stretch networks through the body as far as stretching the pecs. Yeah? So now I'm going to keep this grip. I'm going to change the conversation again. So I'm going to back right in close because this gets intense quick. I'm going to bend the elbow and I'm going to try to swing the elbow around. Now, moment of core, because all of this leverage here could really default into the small of my back if I don't think about lifting the weightlifter's belt of transverse abdominis, if I don't lift my belly button and stabilize with my glutes behind me. And rather than working into this range of motion right away, I'm going to make it plenty soft. So notice I'm getting closer to the wall, so it's less of a big deal. And I'm going to swing my elbow back out, and I'm slowly going to scoop and swivel around core as you come up to your extension. And swing it back down, and just making this as juicy and liquid as you can. Obviously, to advance it, I'm going to walk forward. Now I'm going to pull in the belt a little more. Think of this as a core stability challenge as much as it is an opening for the shoulders. So as I swat that elbow around, I'm lifting through the core like you're squeezing the last of the toothpaste up through the tube. And when I align my heart forward, my elbow is moving up. Now my free hand can assist, bringing the elbow forward, raising the elbow up. So if I turn towards you guys, notice how close the arm is to my head. Yeah, so as I swing through that range of motion, as I swat that arm around, I want it to come in and up, externally rotating and elevating, and my free arm can help. Yeah, I can make it gentler by backing in. I can make it stronger by moving forward. And the more I let the chest lift, I'm lifting through the throat. I'm considering this to be core work as well, and you can just spring into this conversation. Wonderful prep for Kapotasana, wonderful prep for wheel. Just really refreshing. We're getting into serratus, lats releasing. So much more subtlety than if I'm just hanging onto a static yoga belt. And this grip is just so easy to maintain. I'm not afraid of losing it. I can really lean against it more if I wish. Yeah. So I'm just going to do the other side a little bit because now I need both arms a little bit open to demo what I'm going to advance. So I'm just going to square my core, swap that elbow around, take a moment here, feel into that shoulder. I'm anchoring down just as much as I am floating up. And best of all, notice how I can get weird. I can look behind me, look around. I'm finding ways to massage into areas that get neglected if I'm worried about moving in real straight lines. There is optimal alignment, but I'm gonna chase down all the little dead-end avenues and really explore the territory. Good. Just lean in, up through the core, up through that elbow. Free hand can adjust. Good. Okay, so I'm going to separate my belt. I'm going to hook it both hands around. Notice how I'm sitting on the floor taking the slack off. There's no great challenge here. I'm going to play a couple times. I'm going to swap both elbows forward and raise them up. So there's really no great resistance here yet. Swap the elbows forward and raise them up. Swap the elbows forward. My fists are coming to touch. That's fine. They're going to kind of press against each other. Now I'm going to press and drive my hips up. It's core. If this is harsh on your back, you're going to drop down. You're going to walk closer in, and then you're going to consider coming up. Yeah, and I'm lifting the elbows higher. If this is too easy, if you want a little more of a conversation, walk the knees forward, offering the elbows up, lifting into the heart. Good. Or you can sit on the heels and lean forward. This gives you a little bit of an easier time in the core. Reaching the elbows forward. I'm hoping that my arms stay fairly close to my head, but they're so externally rotated and swiveled around that my neck is quite free. That I have space to reach, pressing the heart through, and again, I'm leaning into that elastic conversation. The more I drive my hips forward, the more counterbalance through legs, pelvis, transverse abdominis. So this is a much more advanced as far as spinal control is concerned. Sitting back and bowing and melting in is a little more chilled. Both are nice. Depends on where you want to go with your practice. Good. So just a couple of my favorites using the belt. There's a lot more. If you do a little bit of that prehab, rehab with your shoulders before or after class, it's going to go a long way. You're going to create a lot more freedom here. I hope you enjoy it. Let me know what you think, and we'll see you soon. Namaste.